Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and the first thing I'm going to show you in this video is my father, the official father of the Digital Asset Investor channel. He's been running into a problem, and it's the same problem that I have had, and many people that have talked to me have had, is that everybody hears about the Flare network left and right, and there's various people that cover it, but it doesn't ever seem to come across in simple terms for the average Joe or average Jane out there. And so my father has started to do on his channel an Understanding the Flare Network 101. He's presenting this because it's confused him. And so he decided he was going to create a series about it so that he could try to make himself understand it. And in turn, he could help other people like himself that are confused by all this understand it. Now, once you go through that basic understanding, I would highly recommend you go to the Mickey B. Fresh channel to get more of an in-depth, I mean, this guy's like a genius, to get more of an in-depth or go to the next level of understanding of the Flare networks. But my father just wanted to do it more of like an intro level for those of you especially that are just now finding out about the basics of blockchain. So it's here, and you can give him a subscribe at CFTT TV. Give him a subscribe, and that's what he's doing. I wanted to show you this one clip from it, and this was good. I was watching this, I was like, well, this is a great explanation, because ultimately Flare is, it makes XRP a smart, the XRP ledger, it creates a smart contract platform. And many of you hear smart contract platform. This is a great example, just making this easy to understand. He explains what a smart contract platform is, what that means in very simple terms for you and me. Listen to this.
And utility expresses usefulness. A good way to think of smart contracts is to imagine purchasing a house. Usually this process requires third parties, such as a lawyer and a broker. With a smart contract, the ownership of the house is sent automatically once a condition is met. The concept of a smart contract was introduced by cryptographer and legal scholar Nick Szabo in 1994. The term smart contract is confusing to me, though, because a smart contract can also be defined as a program which runs on the block-based system. That's a much easier way for me to understand smart contracts as programs that run on a block-based system. And these smart contracts verify and execute the negotiations of the agreement without a third party like a bank. So when I hear smart contracts, I now think program on a blockchain-based system. The application of the...
Okay, so I thought that was a really good clip to give you the basic idea of what a smart contract is, and I'm sure smart contracts will eventually replace real estate closings. Okay, Riz XRP sent me this, and you can see the writings clearly on the wall that the XRP ledger is being built out so that it has all functionality for all the money. This is from Vitsavin, XRP Ledger Standard Proposal, calling on XRP Ledger developers for thoughts. XLS-14D non-fungible tokens on the XRP Ledger. Now, non-fungible tokens, this is a concept that many of you need to understand, and it's kind of wild. A non-fungible token is a special type of cryptographic token which represents something unique. Non-fungible tokens are thus not mutually interchangeable. This is in contrast to the native asset on XRP, where XRP can be sent and received without being uniquely per token identified. Where normal tokens and native asset XRP can be divided receive 1 XRP and send zero point 0.5. NFTs can only be used in one whole unique token. And then it goes down and says applications, non-fungible tokens are used to create verifiable digital scarcity as well as digital ownership and the possibility of asset interoperability across multiple platforms. NFTs are used in several specific applications that require unique digital items like crypto art, digital collectibles, and online gaming. And this came from the Cryptic Poet. Then James Rule sent me this. This is a clip from MSNBC where they're talking about an NFT artwork creator. This really lays out for you and makes you understand. Now remember, there are people creating these NFTs are literal, and I'm going to show you in a second. These things and things that you would think are completely silly, and I would think are completely silly, that are selling online for thousands of dollars. You're about to see. I'm going to show you, but first watch a little bit of this clip.
Major auction house to sell a purely digital artwork known as an NFT. Now, the work is a montage by the artist Mike Winkelmann, known as Beeple. He has over 2 million Instagram followers. Unclear what this is going to sell for, but NFT sales quadrupled last year to over $250 million. Now, NFT stands for non-fungible token. Basically, it's a cryptocurrency token run on blockchains that's used to represent an asset. Usually it's art, but it could also be simply a meme or a video. A popular meme called Nyan Cat just sold for $580,000. CryptoPunks, a blockchain-based market for cartoon headshots, had over $15 million in sales in a single day. A digital NBA video highlights called Top Shots, they're among the most popular here. The league gets a cut of the trading topping $200 million just over the past 30 days. A video highlight of LeBron James' dunk shot went for over $200,000. Mark Cuban's among the biggest proponents here. One of his Twitter posts going for $950, and Lindsay Lohan sold an image of her face for $17,000.
Wow.
That was immediately flipped by the buyer for $58,000.
Do you see where this is all going?
Rush here, even though it's a little hard to explain what the gold is. Back to you.
That's exactly right, Robert. Thank you for that. Actually, joining us right now, maybe can help, is Mike Winkelmann, aforementioned artist known as Beeple. Beeple, appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me. I noticed you guys don't have enough sound effect buttons like Kramer, so I brought my own sound effect button. So let me know if you want me to press it at any point during the interview here.
All right. Follow up on what Robert was
I need
just
one of
saying.
those hype buttons, by the way.
How do you make this understandable to the layperson?
So I think there's a couple different ways and analogies that I like to use. Like one of them is the Mona Lisa. Anybody can sort of take a picture of the Mona Lisa, but that doesn't mean you own the Mona Lisa. Another one that I like to use is like MP3s. Like you can have a copy of sort of, Michael Jackson's Thriller, but that doesn't mean like nobody's going to think, you're not going to be able to convince people that like you own the like master recordings of Thriller. So it's really like that. Like you can still have copies of digital art online and everybody can view them, but the blockchain, the NFT is the thing that proves that this one person owns it. And everybody else sort of like agrees that that person owns it.
Right. Can you walk us back to the time when...
Okay, I think that's plenty of that. I think you get the picture. But I'm going to give you an example in my own life of where I know for a fact, because I've literally had my credit card hit for this kind of garbage. I consider garbage. But anyway, I'm not saying NFTs are going to be garbage. Some of them should have real value. But I just want to give you an example in my own life. My son comes in here all the time asking me if he can use the credit card to buy things on that video game Fortnite, okay? And Fortnite's basically a video game where my son and all of his friends drop into this area and they all fight. They join as a team and they fight against other people. Well, in this game, the different kids are buying what they call skins, which is basically the different outfits they're wearing, and then they're buying weapons, they're buying all kinds of different things. And I can tell you for 1,000% fact, because I have bought several, there have been several weapons and different things that I've let my son buy on that game. Now, imagine that there's a certain kind of machine gun or a bazooka or something in that game that's gold plated or whatever. Well, they could create an NFT for that. My son could buy it, and then once he buys it, there could be millions of kids in that game that are dying to have that gold plated bazooka and might buy it for him more than what he bought it for. That is what NFT is, and putting it on the blockchain is what makes it where nobody else can have the gold bazooka that he has. It's his. And you could also compare it to baseball cards. I collected baseball cards growing up. But if you had one baseball card of, say, let's just say, for example, Mike Trout, who's a good baseball player now, one baseball card that had one special thing on that baseball card that no other baseball card had, you could put it on the blockchain and say, this is the one. And then all of a sudden, there's a value, that scarcity. That's what this is. And this is what they mentioned in that video. This is actually going on right now, folks. And I know many of you, especially you older people out there, are going to look at this and go, are you freaking kidding me? This picture right here, this image called CryptoPunk 6278. Look what this thing sold for, $40,899,000 NFT. That's what you call a freaking inbound market. Now, Gator Trader sent me this back to a little more seriousness. I don't normally read full articles, but I'm going to read this one because it's important. Gator Trader sent me this by Jim Rickards, posted on February 22nd, just a few days ago. The Great Reset is here. The Bretton Woods Conference of 1944 set the global financial system that still prevails today. The period 1969 to 1971 can be regarded as the first reset, which involved the creation of special drawing rights, SDR, ticker XDR. I will note the X in that. The devaluation of the dollar and the end of the gold standard. For years, commentators, myself included, have discussed the next global monetary realignment, which is sometimes called the Big Reset or the Great Reset. Now it looks like the long-expected Great Reset is finally here. Details vary depending on the source, but the basic idea is that the current global monetary system centered around the dollar is inherently unstable and needs to be reformed. Part of the problem is due to a process called the Triffin's Dilemma, named after economist Robert Triffin. Triffin said that the issuer of a dominant reserve currency had to run trade deficits so that the rest of the world could have enough of the currency to buy goods from the issuer and expand world trade. But if you ran deficits long enough, you would eventually go broke. This was said about the dollar in the early 60s. In 1969, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, created the SDR, possibly to serve as a source of liquidity and alternative to the dollar. In 1971, the dollar did devalue relative to gold and other major currencies. SDRs were issued by the IMF from 1970 to 1981. None were issued after 1981 until 2009 during the global financial crisis. Testing the plumbing. How many times have you heard Brad Garlinghouse refer to Ripple as creating the plumbing for the financial system? The 2009 issuance was a case of the IMF testing the plumbing, the system, to make sure it worked properly. Because zero SDRs were issued from 1981 to 2009, the IMF wanted to rehearse the governance, computational, and legal processes for issuing SDRs. The purpose was partly to alleviate liquidity concerns at the time, but it was also to make sure the system works in case a large new issuance was needed on a short notice. The 2009 experiment showed the system worked fine. Since 2009, the IMF has proceeded in slow steps to create a platform for massive new issuances of SDRs and the creation of a deep liquid pool of SDR-denominated assets. On January 7, 2011, the IMF issued a master plan for replacing the dollar with SDRs. This included the creation of an SDR bond market, SDR dealers, and ancillary facilities such as repos, derivative settlement, and clearance channels. The entire apparatus of a liquid bond market. A liquid bond market is critical. U.S. Treasury bonds are among the world's most liquid securities, which makes the dollar a legitimate reserve currency. The IMF study recommended that the SDR bond market replicate the infrastructure of the U.S. Treasury market with hedging, financing, settlement, and clearance mechanisms substantially similar to those used to support trading in Treasury securities today. I'm going to ask you a question before I read this last part. Is there a possibility that XRP becomes a bond and we are bondholders of a bond that's worth a lot of money and pays interest? Last section. I think this is the second to last. China gets a seat at the monetary table. In July 2016, the IMF issued a paper calling the creation of private SDR bond market. These bonds are called MSDRs for market SDRs, in contrast to OSDRs for official SDRs. In August 2016, the World Bank announced that it would issue SDR-denominated bonds to private purchasers. Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, the largest bank in China, will be the lead underwriter on the deal. In September 2016, the IMF included Chinese yuan in the SDR basket, giving China a seat at the monetary table. So the framework has been created to expand SDR's scope. The SDR can be issued in abundance to IMF members and used in the future for select list of the most important transactions in the world, including balance of payment settlements, oil pricing, financial accounts of the world's largest corporations, such as ExxonMobil, Toyota, Royal Dutch Shell. Did Chris Larson work? It was either Exxon. I think it was Exxon where Chris Larson used to work. Exxon or Chevron. It was one of them. I think it was Exxon. Now the IMF is planning to issue $500 billion of new SDRs, although some Democrat senators are lobbying for an issue of 2 trillion SDRs or more. This would be almost 10 times the amount of SDRs issued in 2009 and would go a long way to increasing SDR liquidity and advancing the globalist agenda of eventually having the SDR replace the US dollar as the leading reserve asset. This proposal closely follows the global elite game plan predicted in Chapter 2 of my 2016 book, The Road to Ruin. Over the next several years, we will see the issuance of SDRs to transnational organizations such as the UN, World Bank, to be spent on climate change infrastructure and other elite pet projects outside the supervision of any democratically elected bodies. I call this the new blueprint for worldwide inflation. More than just SDRs. It was the third to the last. But I'm sorry for reading this, but you need to hear it all. But there's more to the Great Reset than the issuance of new SDRs. Here's another breaking news story that validates the long-standing prediction of a coming reset in the global financial system. In 1999, the euro replaced the individual currencies of Germany, France, Netherlands, Italy, and other major economies in Europe. Today, the number of countries that have joined the euro is up to 19, and more countries are waiting admission. The euro is the second largest reserve currency asset after the US dollar. The creation of the euro can be thought of as a stepping stone from national currencies to a single world currency. Now the euro, along with the Chinese yuan, is moving quickly to become a central bank digital currency. Did you hear that? Central bank digital currency. A CBDC combines a traditional currency with a blockchain technology of a cryptocurrency. It is an important move in the direction of eliminating cash and forcing users into a 100% digital system using credit cards, debit cards, and smartphone apps. Why are China and Europe so focused on eliminating cash? Use it or lose it. I've said all along, and folks, if you hear nothing else today, listen to this last paragraph. I've said all along that you cannot put negative interest rates on consumers until you eliminate cash. Otherwise, savers would just withdraw cash from the banks and stuff it in mattresses to avoid negative rates. Implicitly, the European Central Bank seems to agree. One of the ECB board members says that negative rates, really confiscation, will be applied as a penalty against hoarding cash. In plain English, that means that they will create digital money, force you to spend it, and if you don't spend it, they will take it away as negative rate. Now all of the pieces of the global elite plan are converging. The IMF SDR issuance will reliquify global central banks that cannot print dollars. Then CBDCs will be used to eliminate cash. Once the cattle, that's us, have been herded into the digital slaughterhouse, we will be told to use it or lose it. When it comes to our money, in other words, either we spend the money or the government will take it away. Of course, the spending can be channeled into politically correct causes by excluding unpopular vendors, such as gun dealers or conservative social media platforms from the payment system, the representative total domination of human behavior through world money, digital currencies, and confiscation. This is not speculation anymore. It's happening in front of our eyes. The Great Reset is coming fast. The future is here. The only solution is to use a non-digital, now, see, his point here is to use a non-digital, non-bank store, and he's going for gold and silver. What I'm saying to you is, look, these people are the powers that be. And what I'm saying is I own gold and silver. Physical gold and silver, in my opinion, are always going to be a great investment. I agree with that. But I also think that in conjunction with all of this, and by the way, the guy that wrote this article, Jim Rickards, he said in a tweet I showed you this week that he thinks that XRP might be an ESDR. Okay? This guy's not stupid. He's connected all the way to the heights of power. I don't think that any of us are ultimately going to have a choice, whether you think this is for good or for evil. I don't think there's going to be a choice. We're going into a digital currency world. I'm trying to put my money beside all of the powers that be. And they may say in the news media that it's Bitcoin, but it's not. And I'll tell you why it's not. Everything that I just read to you here, like up here when he says, I've said all along, you cannot put negative interest rates on consumers unless you eliminate cash. Otherwise, And he says one of the members says the negative rates will be a penalty. So in other words, my point here is, this is why I think they created, and when I say they, make no mistake, and I'll show you a clip here in a second. Make no mistake, it was not some guy in a freaking bathrobe that was a libertarian that created Bitcoin. These people hate gold and silver, physical gold and silver. They hate it because that, you go into physical gold and silver, it's the one way that there can be no control. That's what Bitcoin, in my opinion, was created for by governments. I don't know which governments. It was created so that when the ultimate inflation escaped and left stock markets and left fiat, because people are investors and the average Joe out there is not stupid. When it left, it was going to flee, and they wanted it to flee into something that they were telling everyone for the last 10 years was untrackable and for drug dealers. And I think they wanted them to go into it. And I think that at some point, I don't know when, I think at some point a lot of them, and well, I think they already have their real bets on the digital assets with utility, the XRPs and the XLMs. I think the elites have created a perception that Bitcoin is the one and all of that, so that the money would flow there temporarily in the midterm. I think it probably will be allowed to be, and I do mean allowed, don't believe for a second that they can't control Bitcoin and rein that in. They could collapse it if they wanted to, and I'll show you a clip in a minute that can prove that. Okay, enough of this. I'm going to go on, but this is what's been going on, folks. He just laid it all out. This is what's been going on. All right, now watch this clip. Actually, I'm going to skip this clip. I'll show it in another video because this video has already gone too long, but I did want to show you this from Michelle Vandenberg. And Ian Northing had tweeted this out. Coinbase, in their S-1 filing to go IPO, Coinbase says crypto market could fall if Bitcoin creator revealed. And this is what the article said from the Coinbase S-1 filing. If the identity of the creator was revealed, it could cause Bitcoin prices to deteriorate. And where would that money go? Might go into the ones that actually were the ones. It could cause Bitcoin prices to deteriorate, according to the filing. The filing also referenced Nakamoto's personal stash of Bitcoins, which totals over 1 million. See, this is the thing that Bitcoin maxis never want to talk about. They'll talk about all day long. They say, Ripple controls all this XRP, but they'll never talk about how much percentage-wise of the Bitcoin that is controlled by this guy who supposedly is in a bathrobe at home and is a libertarian and on your side, that they don't know who he is or what he is or what group he is. They'll never talk to you about that and the fact that he's sitting on that. What could he do with that? He could tank the market in one push of a button, folks. But this Dan Pena said this a couple of years ago. Listen to this.
If you knew who was really behind Bitcoin, you would run as fast as you fucking could to sell it. I know. 100%. If you knew who owned Bitcoin or who started Bitcoin, you had Bitcoin, you couldn't sleep at night. I know. 100%. And when the real founder of Bitcoin comes out, it is my humble opinion, and there's nothing humble about me, Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
One day.
And a microsecond, whoop, like that.
Okay, now I want to say one more thing about before I leave you. This right here, the Great Reset. If you've been following me, if you've been watching, if you've been paying attention, you have literally been watching for the last 2 years Ripple doing what I consider to be the equivalent of an IPO roadshow for XRP and Ripple's software in front of almost every central banker in this world, the IMF, the freaking, you name it. They've been there. That's what I think we were watching. They're not doing it anymore, and you're watching the people leave. And so the question is this. Marcus Treacher left. Freaking the Marjan Delatine, we covered that yesterday, she left. Miguel Valles left. There are people who think, oh, well, those people failed and they left. No. The IPO roadshow, the XRP Ripple roadshow is complete, in my opinion. And if you believe that all of this that he just talked about, all this that I just read you, has nothing to do with Ripple or XRP or XLM and Stellar, because I've shown you they've been in front of the IMF too. If you believe it has nothing to do with it, my igloo in South Georgia and the temperatures down here in the summertime, or around this time of year, they're typically around the 75 on up to 100 range. But my igloo that I have for sale here in South Georgia is still for sale. It melts within 24 hours. And my son could literally draw you a picture of it, even though he's pissed off about drawing XRP pictures. He's tired of drawing those pictures. He could do it, though, if I really gave him the right incentive. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that Ripple's been testing the plumbing.